What's going on, guys? It's Matt Jacobs here. I want to talk a little bit about this 18mm f2 lens I have on my X-T10 here. And I also want to talk a little bit about gear acquisition syndrome and trying not to be emotional when it comes to gear and just thinking logically and what you're actually going to use and need instead of constantly accumulating more lenses and cameras like I seem to have been doing recently. I wanted to make two kind of opposing points about this lens. I want to talk about why it's really not that bad. I feel like people really bash this lens and say that it's Fuji's absolute worst lens. It's not sharp at all. I want to kind of talk about why, you know, it's not that bad, but at the same time, I want to talk about why I'm going to sell it. So just stick with me here, I'll explain. Now I got the lens cap on it. I originally bought this lens for my XM1 because I wanted to make a really tiny kit. I have the 27mm Pancake lens here, and I wanted to just have a second small lens so I could choose between two focal lengths. And this, without the lens cap here, I'll take it off. This is actually Fuji's second smallest lens. So they call it a Pancake, but it's about, if I take the lens cap off of the 27mm, you can see that the 18 is about twice as big. So in my opinion, it's not really a Pancake lens, it's just a really tiny lens. A couple things just about it. I mean, I bought this used. I just want to talk a little bit about buying gear used. I got it on eBay, and the seller actually said that there was a dent in it somewhere, but I've searched this thing all over, and I can't seem to have find a dent. So either I'm missing something, or maybe they sent me the wrong lens, I don't know. If you're gonna buy any gear, definitely try to avoid getting it brand new if you can. I've never had a bad experience buying anything used. I usually go through eBay, not that they're sponsoring me or anything. So I usually just go through eBay, and eBay also has a money back guarantee thing. So even if the seller does send you a faulty product and they don't accept returns, you can still get your money back. So eBay, go through eBay for used gear. But anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about, I don't know, this lens physically. I feel like the focus ring isn't the absolute nicest. I feel, not that I manual focus at all, but if you're someone that does, and this is a focus by wire, so it's not super accurate, but I feel the focus ring is pretty loose. I mean, this is like one of the first, I mean, I'm recording on the 35 1.4, and this 18 f2, and I think like the 14mm were the first three lenses that Fuji ever introduced for the X trans system. So it's definitely an older lens. This has been around the block for about like 10 years. So yeah, the focus ring isn't super nice. I feel like, I don't know, it's pretty loose, but then like you'll go through it and then all of a sudden it'll like really be loose for like a little bit and then it'll like catch. I don't know. So if that's something that you really need. The aperture ring's actually fine, in my opinion. It's a lot better than my 35 1.4. And the f2 aperture, it lets a pretty nice amount of light in, especially for a lens that is this small. I have tried to take a couple portraits of my dogs with this lens, and I find at f2 the bokeh in the background is a little bit jittery and busy looking, and just kind of detracts from the image more so than anything. Not that most people would get a wide angle lens like this to have really great background blur, especially in f2. That's why the 16mm lens opens all the way to 1.4. You get like an extra full stop or whatever, so hopefully you can get some better background separation on that. I do want to get the 16mm someday. A little side tangent there. But yeah, this lens, despite what you'll see a bunch of videos of people saying, it's plenty sharp. I mean, even if I pixel peep, if I'm shooting, I mean, not at f2, but no lens is as sharp as at f2. If I'm at f5.6 or f8, it's plenty sharp for landscapes. I mean, I can zoom in and pixel peep, and each individual blade of grass is sharp enough for me. A lot of people talk about this focal length being a little bit uninspiring, and that's because there's a 27mm focal length, which is about the equivalent of the standard camera on your phone. Before they introduced a bunch of cameras, the main one on, I think, either side of your phone is an 18mm lens, or 27mm full frame equivalent, 18mm ASPC. Sorry to get confusing here. It is confusing with different sensor sizes, but it's the same focal length as your phone shoots. So because of that, if you're a phone shooter and you're looking for your first lens for your Fuji camera, and you really kind of want to distance yourself from that phone photography feel, this is not the best option to do that, because it's gonna feel like you're basically on your phone again. You're not gonna be able to get very much background blur, which is the number one thing most people are looking for whenever they take their first step into getting a legitimate camera. But yeah, like I said, this lens is adequate in my opinion, but I'm trying to build a kit of cameras and lenses that I find exceptional, not just adequate. And I would be fine with this if I didn't also have the 23mm f2 lens, which I bought before it. That's the main thing, is this 18 is so close to the 23mm lens that I'd rather choose a 23 every single time. And the 23, it is a little bit bigger, but it's really not much bigger, and it's probably the same weight. It's also a very small lens. But the reason that I got this despite having the 23 already was because I wanted to build a really small kit. I had the Fujifilm XM1, which is one of their smallest cameras, and I wanted to have, yeah, this 27mm and the 18mm, so I had two lenses. I ended up selling the XM1, so this is now my smallest camera, but I prefer the 27mm on here. This is a good size on this camera body, to be fair, but yeah, I just prefer to keep the 27mm on there anyway, because I'm really only going to take this camera with me if I just want something super small to put in my pocket. Otherwise, I have an X Pro 1 and two X-T3s, so I'm going to want to use my nicer cameras whenever I'm in a situation that I can. But yeah, like I was talking about, even though that this lens is adequate and it's plenty sharp enough for me, like I'm fine with the results. It's mainly the focal length being not my favorite, but also the fact that I have that, you know, the 23mm lens, which is so close to this. And I just want to, you know, talk a little bit about being emotional with your gear. Ultimately, I really like my Fuji cameras. And I feel like a lot of people can get emotional when it comes to their preferred camera system and lens system, and they want to like just defend it and just fight anyone who says anything bad about it. But I think it's important to keep a very objective look on these, because ultimately they're tools. And what I like most about Fujifilm is it makes it easy for me to create the art that I want to make, which is, I don't know, high quality videos, really great pictures that have nice colors. So I like Fujifilm in that way. But if there was a camera, sorry about that super loud car. So I like Fujifilm because of that. But if there was a camera system out there that had all of these things but better, I would probably jump ship to them. It just so happens that whenever I was buying into getting my first legitimate camera system, that Fujifilm was the thing that ticked all my boxes for a decent hybrid camera, the X-T3, and then the lenses just being great, mainly for photography, I know, but I truly believe Fujifilm is going to keep innovating in the future. I know you're not supposed to buy into a camera system based on the hope that they will do something, but I can already see Fuji taking the steps towards that with coming out with the H2 soon, the X-T4, and they're apparently building a new sensor for the X-T5 and all the cameras that will have that same sensor coming out next. But yes, try not to buy all your cameras and lenses and just become attached to it just because you spent money on it. If you can see that a lens objectively isn't doing what you want it to do artistically, it's not aiding you and maybe it's holding you back in a way and you're just not using it, then my advice to you would be to find someone close to you first, if you can, that you could sell that to for a good price, especially if you got a good deal on it. You know, pass it along, help someone else out who you know who might want that lens. But if you don't, then put it on eBay and you know, maybe fund your next lens or camera that will actually inspire you. So yes, this lens is fine. I don't do a lot of street photography, so maybe it would be better if I did street photography, because it is really small and it's tiny and unassuming. But maybe I'm starting to think, now that I have this 35mm lens, I really like the mid focal length more than the wide angle. I think I'm gonna have to revisit someday whenever I can afford the 16mm 1.4. I'm gonna have to revisit challenging myself creatively in that way. I've been using a wide angle lens. But maybe this one isn't for me. I know the 16 mil is so close to the 18 mil, just like the 18 is close to the 23. So it seems kind of weird to think that the 16 is going to be completely different, but I don't know. It's just weird. Different focal lengths. There's just something that clicks in your brain, the way it works, the way the background is with it whenever you have to get a certain distance from your subject. I don't know. I feel like this has kind of been a rambly video all over the place, but I hope you could get something out of it. I'm selling this to MPB. I'm actually sending it out tomorrow. So I wanted to talk about this lens and just talk about gear acquisition syndrome and thinking not emotionally about the gear that you acquire, and just, I don't know, being smart about it. Because I just want to have, I have two X-T3s because I need identical bodies for video. And then I have the X Pro 1, which is like really my favorite personal photo camera. And then the X-T10, the only way I can justify it is having a super compact camera that I can take with me anywhere for a running gun situation. I do want to make a video about this. The one thing that kind of sucks about my X-T10 is the picture view button just completely biffed it. Don't work no more, so I can't review my pictures, but it could be cool for a more analog feel. Get a really tiny SD card in there and not be able to check your pictures. I guess it would still be an electronic view. Anyway, I'm getting so many tangents here. The only thing I can really say about the 18mm f2 is, it's fine for if that's what you need. If you need that focal length, then this camera will do you well. There's also the new 18mm 1.4, which I didn't mention in this video. It probably has a lot nicer background blur than that. It's obviously a much bigger lens, but I think I'll be going for the 16mm whenever I do eventually get another wide angle lens. But if you need a compact lens that is of this focal length, then this lens is adequate. Don't let any of the other reviewers on YouTube convince you that this is just like a soft mess and there's no sharpness at all, because it's not true if you use it in its sharpest apertures. There's ups and downs to every lens, so just take into consideration. If you want to take my opinion into consideration, maybe watch a couple more videos on it, and you can decide yes or no if you want this lens. But thank you for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, leave a comment down below, and wonder what I'm going to make next. I think I want to talk about my Viltrox 56mm 1.4. This is my favorite third-party lens that I own. I only own two, but this is a really great lens. So let me know if you want to see that next. All right, guys. Bye.